Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome to this week's webinar. We have one of our favorite guests coming to visit with us today, Elena S. Blair. Hi, Elena. Thank you.
Hi, good to see you. Always fun to talk shop too, right before we get started.
Yes, it is. And this is one of my favorite topics. When I started out in photography, I did all kinds of newborn photography. It was like my sweet spot just because I love holding babies. And I can't wait to hear all of your tips on like not having to swaddle them and like do these poses that are, so set up. I just love the whole connection idea that you have going on. So I can't wait to get to that. But first, we have to do just a little bit of housekeeping. Welcome to everyone who's here. I see everyone's already telling us where they're from in the chat. If there's anything else you want to tell us, what types of photography you do, obviously probably newborn, but if you do other types of photography too, let us know. Also, if you want to share your social handles on there, we can follow each other and look at each other's work. If you will notice on, depending on what kind of device you're on the side of your screen, you'll see a chat and you'll see a Q&A. As Elena is doing her presentation, if you have questions for her, please put them in the Q&A tab. That way, as people are chatting in the chat tab, we won't lose your questions. And when it gets to the Q&A portion, Elena will be able to easily find your questions. With that being said, if you mistakenly put a question in the chat tab, I will move it for you. So if you see it disappear, don't think it's gone forever. I've just put it in its new home over in the Q&A tab. Awesome. Everyone is still very excited and telling us where they're from. We are international. We've got folks from all over the place. Okay, so Elena, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you. I do want to mention one last thing. There will be a replay sent to everyone via email a little bit after the webinar is over. So it will come to you this afternoon. But we hope you'll stay with us for the whole entire webinar from beginning to end. There's jam-packed full of information. So Elena, I'm going to drop off and hand it over to you. Thanks again for coming today.
Thank you, Karen. I love to do webinars with Shootproof. I have been a Shootproof. I always say that Shootproof and I grew up together. I was one of the earlier users and still use, and we were just talking about school photography and how I use it for that. So we're big fans of Shootproof over here. All right, let's do this. So this is going to be packed, like she said. I do tend to speak really fast. And here's one of the funky things about their webinar software is that I actually can't see, I can only see the screen that I'm sharing while I'm presenting. So I'm not going to be able to see your questions, but ask as many questions as you want. The more, the better. I will stay after and answer all of them, promise. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to sharing my screen. And like I said, it might seem like I'm ignoring you. I promise I'm not. Keep the chat popping off. I love to build community online. I think it's such an incredible thing. I'm still such a nerd about this that we can be from all over the world and be in the same place. It still kind of blows my mind. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then we will get going on this. Alrighty. Okay, so as you can see, I'm sharing my screen and what it's looking at is this screen. So it's like this weird mirror thing. So I'm going to go over to the actual presentation. Again, this is probably going to be about an hour. I'm going to try to keep it at an hour. I will answer all of your questions. Keep the questions coming. This should be a time of great curiosity. I hope that you are here to learn something about newborn photography. All right, I'm going to go over to my screen and I won't be able to see you. Okie dokie. So I also am going to be able to look at my notes. So this is my newly designed webinar for this year called Baby-Led Posing Made Easy. And I evolve the way that I teach about newborn photography over time, because I want to refine this method so that people can access newborn photography from a new place in your heart, a new place in your mind. I'm very passionate about newborn photography. So this is 2025's newborn webinar, and it's called Baby-Led Posing Made Easy. And I'm so excited to present it to you today. So who the heck am I? If you are new to me, welcome to my world. My name is Elena S. Blair. The S stands for Sanchez, and we've got another New Mexican in here I saw. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Elena, I'm sorry, real quick. Do you want to have this in presentation mode?
I don't. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Want to see my notes. I know it's kind of weird, but I do want to see my notes.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a quirky way that I present, but
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I know you guys are going to see my whole screen here, but that's just the way I roll because I want to be able to make sure that I don't miss anything. Okay, anyway, so I've lived in Seattle now though for 25 years, and I am a lifestyle, newborn, and family photographer, but I also have a boutique school photography segment of my business where we do school photography in a much more artistic and meaningful way, and we reach about 20 schools a year, so thousands of kids each year. I have been a photographer for 15 years, which is wild. And it all started when I gave birth to one of my kids. I'm going to give you a little more of that story in a minute. But I used to be a newborn intensive care nurse. So I have been working with newborns in one way or another since I was 22 years old. I'm 42 now, so it's been 20 years. And I'm very passionate about newborns. I'm very passionate about safety when it comes to newborns and about that fleeting stage that is newborn photography or the newborn stage and capturing it with newborn photography. I also have 4 kids. They are almost 11, 14, 18, and 19 years old. And so I'm very busy. We have a very busy household. We got graduation, all kinds of stuff going on right now. But I'm still very much a working photographer, even though I have a big online education platform where I educate thousands of photographers. I have a mastermind where I coach photographers from all over the world. I still do about 100 photo shoots a year. So I'm still very much in it with you. So my journey may have began a lot like yours. Now tell me in the comments if you relate to this here. I became a photographer because I had a child. Now this is actually my 3rd baby. She is going to be 11 next Wednesday. And I'm going to tell you a little more about her too. But I started my photography journey when my 18-year-old was born. And he came out and I was very isolated, feeling very stressed at home. And I started taking pictures of him. And I became fascinated with the ability not to take a photo of what he looked like, but to be able to capture his personality with my camera. One thing led to another. I started photographing anyone and everyone that I could. I opened a business and here we are 15 years later, running a multiple 6-figure photography business. So, but I wanted to show you this because I remember this time so much where I was knee deep in raising babies. All of them were under the age of 7 at this point. She's about a year old and I couldn't even put sheets on the bed. I wanted to work during the nap time hours. And I was also still working as a nurse. Now, newborn photography is something that came to me because I'm passionate about newborns, but it was also a smart business move for me. Why? Because there is not a slow season for newborn photography. Now, my family photography business, it's seasonal. It has a booming season. It gets busy from April to November, and then it kind of slows down. That is the nature of family photography. That's the nature of wedding photography. Newborns are born every single day, all year. And so it was adding this segment of my business wasn't just for the artistic and creative side that I love. It was also a smart business move. And if you're new to me, you will learn very quickly that I am a photographer, I am an artist, but I am a businesswoman above all. And I'm running a profitable business that has made over 6 figures for 11 years. So I am I love to help photographers take this art and turn it into something that is profitable and meaningful. All right. So when I say raise your hand and when I ask for interaction, I want you to go off in the chat. Okay. I want you to type. I want you to raise a little emoji. Tell me if you are already a newborn photographer, because I'm going to go back and look at this data after the webinar is finished. Let me know if you're just getting started in newborn photography. I would love to know if you joined today to just because you're curious about this genre. Let me know if you pose newborns already and you run your shoots in the more traditional way. So poses, props, beanbags, etc. No judgment here. And I want to know, and actually I am going to slide this over so I can see. I want to know if you're new to lifestyle. So I'm going to look at this for a moment and see if anyone wants to let me know there in the chat. Just getting started. Okay. You are a prop-based photographer. Lena, I'm so glad you're here as a prop-based photographer because it's nice to see a different perspective. So welcome. You're a midwife turned newborn photographer. Oh, I had both of my girls at home, so passionate about natural birth. Okay, amazing. So I'm loving that there is a pretty wide variety. I hope that all of you will stay with me until the end. All right. So I want you to know that this is a photo that I took about 10 years ago, okay? And actually, I think it's probably been 11 years ago. I think this screenshot was right before, it was a Facebook flashback that came up. And I remember this shoot very much because it was right before my baby was born. So it was 11 years ago. And I was super pregnant and I hauled a beanbag, props. That's a hat that I bought off of Etsy for my newborn photo shoots. And I used to do very traditional posed newborn photography. And I actually think that it's very beautiful, but something was missing for me. I would leave these photo shoots struggling, feeling like I didn't get enough of the shots that I wanted, feeling hot and sweaty. It was so much work to be underneath and next to those heaters to get the babies posed like this. I was miserable. And so I'm going to tell you why I started offering the lifestyle approach. So my hope today, and those of you that are here as more of a traditional newborn photographer, my hope is just to give you a fresh perspective. So this presentation is going to be image heavy. I'm going to be showing you a lot of examples of my work. And that's because I want you to really feel into this style visually, into what lifestyle newborn photography is. So more on that in just a sec. So today you're going to learn what lifestyle newborn photography is per me. Everyone has their own definition. I'm going to define it for you. I'm going to let you know what you need to get started with this genre if it's something that you want to do. I'm going to give a little perspective on who should be offering this and why. And I'm going to teach you why a workflow is essential. I will give you the starter process in baby-led posing as well. This is only a 1-hour lecture. I have a long 9-module workshop that is, takes hours to go through, 4 or 5 hours. So I'm trying to just kind of crunch the really important pieces into this webinar. Okay, so why did I go from this to more of the lifestyle style of newborn photography? So I'm going to share a personal story with you. And that's another thing you'll learn about me pretty quickly is I share a lot of personal stories. This is my daughter, Marlo Ray. She will be 11 next Wednesday, born at home for my midwife in here. And I was, at the time, I had a very busy newborn photography business that people were hiring me for props, poses, beanbags, etc. And I just was feeling really misaligned with it. My lifestyle family work was like super aligned. I was loving my outdoor family and indoor family work. I was getting acclaim for it. I was speaking at conferences for it. My newborn work just didn't feel right. And I didn't know why. And I had this baby, my third child at home. I am a home birthing, extended breastfeeding attachment parent. So if you don't know anything about those styles of parenting, in a nutshell, I sleep with my babies, I hold my babies, I breastfeed them till they're 3. Okay. So I'm like kind of a hippie. And she came into the world and I was like, great, kids are at school. I can do a photo shoot of her. I can do a newborn photo shoot of her. I am a newborn photographer. So my postpartum self hauls the beanbag up into my bedroom. I put a background up. I put this beautiful, it was like this yellow colored background up. I got this like hat that matched and this swaddle that matched. And she was asleep. And so I got her posed naked first on the beanbag. And I looked at her and it was like this feeling, this aha moment, this clarity washed over me. I am an attachment parent. Why is my baby naked by itself on a beanbag using a prop that I have used on other babies that's not special to me at all? It all made sense to me at that moment. I scooped her up. I cried. Hello, postpartum hormones. I didn't take one photograph of her on that beanbag. I wrapped her up and I laid her on my bed and I took this photo. And I will never forget that was when I realized I had to start over and rebrand as a lifestyle photographer. And we didn't use the word lifestyle in those days. That's actually a newer term, but I knew that I needed to go to this more natural approach to newborn photography. And it was terrifying because I had a busy business of lifestyle, of posed newborn photography. So I had to completely rebrand. So what I believe that lifestyle newborn photography is that I have the ability to go into any home with any family, any newborn, any dynamic, no matter what they look like, no matter what the ages of their other kids are. And I'm able to show them that they are beautiful. I don't have these crazy expectations of the newborn. Now, in posed newborn photography, the baby has to be a certain age. You have to get them asleep. You have to do all of you have to overfeed them, all these things that did not feel aligned for me. Awake, fussy, it's all fine. I have learned how to direct in a way that creates opportunities for genuine connection, which allows me to create imagery that evokes real emotion. I am not here for a surface photo of a baby in an unnatural position with a prop that distracts from what I believe is the purest beauty of all, and that is a newborn in its natural state. I'm trying to capture a piece of humanity. So I'm going to give you my approach to newborn photography. It is not meant to diss on posed newborn photos. Those people do it really well, and there is a huge market for that. But if you would like to do it different, I'm going to show you how that works. Now, remember, this is how I started, okay? So you can totally change if you want to. I believe that lifestyle newborn photography is more meaningful and it is more laid back for the families. If you've ever had a baby, so much is going on. You're hormonal, the toddlers and other children in the house have been disrupted. Your relationship has changed. So much has changed. And so then to have all these expectations on your baby now, it has to be asleep, it has to be at a certain, no rash allowed, all these things, it's stressful. So I believe it's more laid back. But again, I believe it's more meaningful. Now, I think back to that moment with Marlo. I didn't want to remember her on a cold beanbag out of my arms. That's not what I want to remember. So when I approach newborn photography in this way, I ask myself, what would I want to remember? And this is one of my favorite newborn photos that I've ever taken. And you can't even see the baby's face, but it's, if you've ever had a newborn, you remember, like I could like tear up thinking about this. You remember what it feels like to be obsessed with every piece of hair on their head. You want to touch it. You can't help yourself. And in this photo, I was unwrapping the baby to take some photos, and mom, she just had to be touching the baby. And I captured it. And that's what I want to bring her back to. I want to bring her back to that moment when her baby's hair felt like the softest thing on the planet. Now, I think a lot of newborn photographers fear newborn photography completely. They decide not to do it at all. And the reason they decide not to do it is because they're believing all of the newborn photography myths that circulate in forums, Facebook groups in the world. And believe me, I was believing them too, because you think if I'm going to be a newborn photographer, I've got to fall in line with what newborn photography looks like. So some of the myths that you might be hearing are babies need to be perfectly posed in order to create a professional portrait. I was believing this one big time. I didn't think that this was a professional portrait 11 years ago. I didn't know that it was because the genre hadn't been shown to me yet. You have to have a studio to be a professional newborn photographer. Guess what, guys? I don't have a studio. I'm in my husband's office right now. I work right outside of my dining room, and I don't own artificial lights for newborn photography. I use artificial lights for schools occasionally, but for the most part, no studio, no artificial lights. So a lot of people think, oh, in order to be a newborn photographer, you need a studio and props and all this stuff. Don't need it. You need props and fancy outfits to be a professional newborn photographer. Oh, I remember my first, I'm always bringing you back to me, but my first conference that I went to back in 2012, I strolled that showroom floor and I bought crowns and prop aids and all this stuff. I spent thousands of dollars on these things that I didn't need. I didn't know that I didn't need them though. I now show up to my newborn photo shoot with my camera. That's it. True story. You do not need props and fancy outfits to be a professional newborn photographer. Babies need to be taken out of their parents' arms for photos. My babies rarely leave their parents' arms. And I think that it was very stressful. It's very stressful for a lot of photographers who don't feel comfortable with newborns too. They think, oh, I don't want to learn how to hold a newborn and put it on a thing and get it all posed up. Like, no, you don't have to do all of those things. A baby can stay in the parents' arms for most of the photos. And in fact, those are the photos that I usually prefer. Babies need to be asleep for their newborn shoots. So I used to be a NICU nurse, like I said, and I see really unsafe advice circulating in photography forums, in the world of photography in general. Babies should not be overfed to be made to go to sleep. That's actually dangerous and is going to make for a really unhappy baby later for their parents. Babies should not be overheated. An overheated baby could be very dangerous. Babies do not need to be forced to be asleep for photos. You should not do anything to force a baby in the name of photography. It's unsafe. Newborns are fragile. So babies can be awake. I love when they're awake for the whole photo shoot. Don't care. I need to have artificial lights or a flash to be a professional newborn photographer. I got ahead of myself. I live in Seattle. It's cloudy all the time. You don't need a flash. You can use all natural light. Your camera was made for this, I promise. Thank you, Canon, for making the cameras that I have. So I did a little poll on one of my Instagram posts, and I said, I want to just know from the world out there, what is the word that comes up, the feeling that comes up first when you think of newborn? And the words were sweet, responsibility, incredible, snuggles, bliss, beginning, pure, love, baby scent, sleepless, delicate, soft, tiny, fresh. So many emotions, right? When you have a baby, it's this very emotionally intense time. Not one perfect person said perfect. And not one person said asleep, stiff, unnatural, or in a basket. When I said, when you think of a newborn, what do you think of? No one said, you know what I think of? Baby in a red wagon. Nobody said that because that's not natural. Babies are beautiful as is. They do not need to be made into anything that they aren't. End of story. Okay, so if that's all you learn from me today, release the need to put bunny ears on your baby in the name of photography. Let it go. Babies are beautiful in their natural state. In fact, I would argue that there's not anything more perfect or beautiful than a newborn. They don't need to be put in pots, bunnies, all of the things. Poses that are called taco or frog, a baby should not be put in a pose that's so unsafe that you have to do a composite to make it safe. A baby's head is very fragile. It should not be balancing on their hands. I'm sorry, I will go out on a limb and say that I don't believe that that's safe. There is a profound beauty found in the simplicity that is a newborn baby. And I do this pose. This is probably the only posy pose that I do if the baby is asleep. No more 4-hour sessions for me. All you need for a lifestyle newborn photo shoot is your camera. So you were asking what camera I bring to my newborn shoots, and this is the only one that I use for my newborn photo shoots. I use my R5 and I use an RF 35mm 1.4. I do not use zoom lenses in my art. That just doesn't work for me. I don't like zoom lenses. It's a personal preference. So this is exactly what I use for my newborn photo shoots. Literally, this is all I take with me. So my strategy when I'm thinking about how I'm going to approach a newborn photo shoot is I am trying to create connection over perfection. That's actually kind of my strategy in life, but it's definitely my strategy for my newborn photo shoots. And there is a quote by Ben Okri that says, where there is perfection, there is no story to tell. So for example, this photo. These two brothers are welcoming their third brother. They've actually had another one since. They're welcoming their baby, and you can't see the baby's face, right? There was a time in my life where I would have thought, oh, this photo is not going to work. You can't see the baby's face. But you don't need to see anything here. What you are feeling is this moment of these boys showering their baby brother with love. And the mother is going to come back to this and remember what that felt like. That's what I'm going for. Newborn photography is so powerful. This mom, I love to show this photo of her because I came into the house. She had a toddler. She was breastfeeding this baby, walking around. She had lipstick on. The house was perfect. She just was like that second time mom pro. And when I started taking photos of her, I said, look what you made. And she started crying. And a lot of times my moms cry, and it's not because they're sad, it's because I'm seeing them truly. And newborn photography that focuses on connection and meaning offers that for the family. Newborn photography does not have a slow season. Everybody, it is a way to make money all year. And as a photographer, this is something you need to think about. How are you going to make money all year? Newborn photography is in high demand. This genre is hot. So lifestyle is just a word. We as photographers like to use words to describe our work, but I'm going to tell you again, get a little bit more into what this word is. When I first became a photographer, by the way, we weren't using the word lifestyle to describe my genre. People were calling my genre, when I switched over to being more lifestyle, documentary, even more candid, all of these things. But now I feel like there's been a little bit more of a, class definition for these things. So I believe that there are really three types of newborn photography. There's traditional, there's lifestyle, and there's documentary. So lifestyle kind of sits comfortably in between the two. It has a couple of, or it has elements of both. But I really believe that lifestyle is a fantastical portrayal of reality. Lifestyle photography is very much directed. So even though I'm not completely, we're not looking stiff and unnatural, you are telling the family what you want them to do. You are placing the baby in the way that you want the baby to be placed. So I do still do some that would be considered a little more traditional, I might say. Like this maybe looks a little more traditional, although I'm not like smoothing the blanket or whatever. So there is still some that are a little more traditional. I would call this lifestyle to a T. I placed the dad and the baby in the light that I wanted them. I told the dad how I wanted him to hold the baby, and then I unwrapped the baby and the baby yawned. And the pro tip, when you unwrap babies, they yawn. It's like how you get them to yawn. And I was able to get this photo. So this is me telling everyone exactly what to do, really kind of even pushing the baby into the yawn, but yet it's a comfortable position. It's safe. It's on the bed. And so I would call this a fantastical portrayal of reality. This is a true documentary photograph. I don't stop taking photos. I'm actually standing in the shower in this picture, and mom had been breastfeeding the baby and was getting up to change the baby's diaper. And I followed her in here, and baby started fussing. She picked the baby up and was patting the baby on the back. I took this photo. So documentary photography, a good documentary photographer is a thoughtful observer. You are not doing any directing. So I do a little bit of all of them, but my focus is much, much more on lifestyle. So in my full course, I do go over all types. So who should be offering this type of photography? Well, family photographers, if you're a family photographer and you are not offering lifestyle newborn, you're missing out on income. Wedding photographers, guess what, guys? Your brides are going to have babies. This is a great way to make sure that you have business all year. And if you photograph children of any age, you should be offering this. All right, tell me how already. I'm getting there. Spoiler alert, I already kind of said this. There's actually a lot of posing and directing involved. So even though I am not posing babies in the traditional way, and even though I'm not bringing in props and posing aids, I am still the director of the shoot, and I am still posing everybody involved. It's kind of like a movie. You are a creative director. So in a movie, a director sets the lighting, sets the scene. All of the things that are happening, the director is in charge of. The director tells the actor what they want them to do. But then, of course, the actor comes in and brings their talent and their personality, and that's where the magic happens. This is what you're doing with your families. For example, in this photo, this beautiful mother is breastfeeding this baby. I brought her to a place where the light was pretty. I asked her to put her feet up that way to cross her ankles. I asked her to look down at her baby's toes. I actually told her all those things. Yet this is a very natural thing that she's doing. So you are the creative director of the shoot. Unless you are a true documentary photographer, there is going to be some or quite a bit of directing involved. Again, think about all of the things that are going on for this family. If you've ever had a newborn, or 2 or 3 babies, so much is happening. It's actually, even though it's blissful, it's actually very stressful. And for a lot of people, it's not blissful. They're having a lot of emotions and things that are not feeling good when they have a baby. But even if you're at the best and you're like one of those postpartum moms that like is thriving, it's still so stressful. You have to be the expert when you go into these photo shoots. You can't go in and be like, okay, cool, where should we do it? All right. I don't know. What are you going to do? You have to be the one that says, okay, I'm going to make this easy for you because I'm in charge. I'm going to ask you to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to help you with this. You have to have a plan and a system, or else it is going to feel extremely stressful for the family. And that will not create client satisfaction. They won't want to come back. And they'll have a stressful feeling about the photos before they see them. and that makes them not like their photos as much. If you can create an amazing experience for your families, they like the photos before they've even seen them. So I am going to break down all of the, as much of it as I can today, but in my full workshop, I break down every single thing that you need to have a seamless session. Okay, so I want you to remember that anytime you see moments like this in a lifestyle newborns photographer's portfolio, we directed them. And if they tell you they didn't, they're making it up, okay? We direct these moments. So any of the moments that you see were directed. Mom is breastfeeding this baby in this room during this moment, and the little girl was kind of bouncing around, feeling a little left out, I could tell. So I asked her to come in and snuggle with her mama and the baby, and that's how we created this photo. So if I hadn't told her to come over, she wouldn't have. You have to know how to safely work with babies as well. It's really important that you know how to safely work with babies. Now, if you're like, I don't have my own babies, I've never had babies, in my full course, I do teach you a little bit about safety, or a lot about safety, but knowing how to pose in a baby-led way will contribute to your safety factor. So I call it baby-led posing. My style of posing is called baby-led posing. I tell the families before the session that the baby is in charge, okay? The baby is the one that is going to dictate when we're done with a pose. I don't leave babies crying. I don't soothe the babies for very long myself, because guess what, everybody? A baby does not belong in a photographer's arm. A baby belongs in their mother's arms, especially if they're trying to breastfeed. You can actually really disrupt the breastfeeding bond if you're holding a baby too much, if you're not their mother. So my posing is all about the baby being in a natural pose that they would already be in it, and then me maximizing that by putting them in the right light, making them a little bit more snug, whatever. So where do these photo shoots take place? All of my photo shoots are in home. I am a complete on-location lifestyle newborn photographer. So I go to families' homes for photo shoots, which is amazing for any of you who are thinking you'd like to do this and wondering if you have to rent a studio, etc. You don't. And actually, I think it's more meaningful in the home. Okay, I'm actually going to just see how we're doing here on. Okay, good. There's lots of questions happening. All right, make sure you bring those over to the Q&A thread, okay? I'm going to come over and answer them. I'm trying to boogie through this. It's a big topic, and I'm very passionate about it because I want it to be safe. So I'm giving you as much as I can in this 1 hour, and then I will invite you to join, of course, my full class, but I'm going to give you as much as I can in 1 hour. All right, what are my key considerations for a lifestyle newborn photo shoot? So these are the 3, like, boom, 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 biggest things that I pay attention to, okay? So connection and emotion, of course. As you can probably tell, that's my favorite. Light is so important in newborn photography, and environment, because I am an in-home newborn photographer. So let's get into this. So if I had to say, what was the most important, I would say connection above all, right? This is a photo where all 3 of my go-tos came together. The connection in this photo is top-notch. The light, we had sun coming through the window. It was beautiful. And the environment is perfect, right? Now, this doesn't always happen. I don't always have, this is actually a super tiny house with not really anything super interesting going on in it, but this window was cool and the light was coming through. And so I placed them in front of this light, in front of this window. I knew that I was going to be able to get this flare. Dad, I asked him to kneel down on the ground and kiss the baby, and instead he kissed mom's shoulder, so it got even better. And the environment, I framed them with that window. So this is one of those like golden nugget photos, but they're not all like that. What I want is for my work to evoke an emotional response, okay? I want people to look at my photos and feel something. I don't want them to see something. Emotional connection leads to client satisfaction and artist satisfaction. What do I mean there? So, for example, in this photo, she's not going to remember what she looked like this day. She's going to remember what it felt like to hold her baby and breastfeed her new baby and to feel this love from her partner. If a mom, and I am speaking about moms mostly, even though I photograph dads too, but moms tend to be my main client. If a mom feels something, she's your client for life. Now, if you have her in a white gown, makeup on, hair done, in a pose that's really perfect, it's beautiful, but she's looking at it and she's seeing it. And she's like, oh, I still look swollen from having a baby. I should have maybe not worn white that day. I should have done my hair curly instead of straight, all the things. And if they see things, they pick it apart. But if you can evoke an emotional response, you will have long-term client satisfaction. And if you have long-term client satisfaction, they come back every year, which is money in your income every year. And then also, if there's emotional connection, you yourself are satisfied. I remember this moment. This family had waited long and hard for this baby. They had a lot of infertility issues. They were an older couple and they got their baby boy. They got their golden boy. They were so in love with him. I left high on the oxytocin in that room, but I remember just being there with them and capturing this and knowing that I was going to give them this gift and just feeling the love that they had for their baby so palpable. And when you fall in love with your own clients, your satisfaction as an artist is going to be long-term, and that matters. I want you here in 15 years telling your story on the Shoot Proof webinar. So how do you bring emotion to your work? You yourself has to be willing to be part of that emotion. You have to be relatable. You got to be willing to be vulnerable. The connection actually starts with you. You have to be willing to connect to your subjects. Go right ahead and fall in love with your clients. This little girl's name is Eleanor, and I know and remember her because she is 9 years old, and I have photographed her and her 2 baby brothers, a newborn photo shoot, Fresh 48 for all of them, and I see them once or twice a year, every single year for the past 9 years. I am in love with my clients. They become part of my life in a big way. So I want you at the end of this webinar to take some time to think about how you want your work to feel. Now, when you're starting on your photography journey, or you may even be 10 years in, and people are obsessed with what it looks like, light and airy. Do I want to have more warm or blue or whatever? I don't want you to think about that anymore. I want you to think about how you want your work to feel, and you'll see things shift when you do that. For me, obviously, I do a lot of breastfeeding photos. I want my work, my newborn photos to feel nurturing. When I photograph a baby, I want it to feel serene. I want the feeling of wonder to come out with my newborn photo shoots. And you'll notice that I do not edit newborn skin to look like a doll. Newborns have skin too. It's okay to have pores. I want the feeling of togetherness and a touch of romance in my work. It's just something I love to do. And I love to capture the feeling of mutual attachment. And if you're a mom, you know what I mean. When I had a baby and people were like, oh, that baby's so dependent on you, I was like, I'm dependent on this baby. I can't even take a shower and feel normal. I probably had a little postpartum anxiety, but that's neither here nor there. I think that there is this feeling of mutual attachment between a mom and a baby, and a dad and a baby, and I love to capture that. Okay, so the next component. So by the way, that's your homework, is to think about how you want your work to feel. Okay. I want you to come up with at least 3 emotions at the end of this, or you could even type them into the chat right now. All right. The next most important component, of course, is light. Any type of photographer, if you don't understand light and you're not able to nail light, go back and learn that. Light should be what you become obsessed with. I am an in-home natural light photographer in a place that's pretty cloudy. It's cloudy today. We are in the middle of, or the end of May, and we got a full cloud cover today. Okay. I only need one good window. I could do an entire photo shoot on a corner of a bed. I have been doing this for 15 years in Seattle. I promise you only need one good window. I love this photo to prove this point, because I went into this house and this home was a townhome. So there was only light coming from 2 sides, and it was like a cave. It was so dark. And I was like, all right, Elena, think fast. What are we going to do? And I went around, and this guest room had this beautiful light on this one corner of this bed. And I did the entire shoot on the corner of the bed. And it was one of my favorite photo shoots of all time. Homes are small, whatever, you can do it. It's actually possible. So when you are preparing to use natural light, you want to make sure to turn all overhead lights off. Okay. You want to make sure to turn all overhead lights off, and you need to be the one in charge of where the photo shoot happens. So when you go into the home, you cannot let them, even if they have an amazing master bedroom, if it's dark in there, you can't do the photos there. So I take that and I pre-educate my clients. Again, I'll teach you all about that in the workshop. I pre-educate all my clients that I'm going to do a little cruise through the house when I get there, and I'm going to choose where we do the photos. You never want to do newborn photos in bad light. Thank you, Canon, for making gear that allows me to push my ISO way up. I did this entire photo shoot at an ISO 4000. The photos are amazing. The grain is minimal. They even blew one up to like a huge canvas. It's gorgeous. I personally don't mind a little bit of grain, but if you're exposing properly, you will have minimal, if any, grain. So this whole photo shoot was done at ISO 4000. Your camera goes up that high because it was made to go up that high. Not popular in the photography education world. There's a lot of men particularly that don't like when I say that, but it's the truth. You can push that ISO way up if you want to. Okay, so the next important component when you are a lifestyle photographer is the environment, because what you include in the photo matters. Now you'll notice that most times I don't really include much, right? Don't care. The environment's not all that important to me as far as like, adding it as an addition. But of course, if I have a family with an incredible home, I will show some of the components of that home that are beautiful. For example, this family, the dad was an architect. The house had these really cool lines and all of these things. That being said, I live in Seattle, where $1 million home is a teardown. So actually big palatial homes aren't typical for me, for my families. So it doesn't really, it's not something that I am looking for. I'll add it if it's there. But I am always paying attention to the environment and distracting elements. Again, I only need one good window. I did this whole newborn photo shoot for a workshop on a concrete floor with a concrete wall. So don't care. All I care about is that connection. I really prefer clean and simple. So when I go into the house, I minimize any distractions. If that, like this one, for example, when I went to into this guy's home, this little dude, his name was James. I went into his home. The mom and dad had a beautiful master bedroom, like with a lot of light, but the bedspread was very busy. It was like just all these shapes and patterns. And so I asked them if they had a white sheet somewhere that I could put on the bed. And they did. And we used that so that we could get the clean and simple. I also advised them to put the baby, if they want baby in any clothing, in a white onesie that fits. I don't like dresses on babies. I don't like outfits on babies. I am a minimalist when it comes to that. Okay, so how do you do this in a way that is repeatable and reliable? Because you need to be able to repeat your system, right? You need to be able to go into the home and be able to do this over and over again. And you can't wing it. There's no winging it allowed. So before the session and before anyone has ever booked, you really want to set yourself up for success. You have to educate the clients a lot. Now, in my full workshop, I give you the email templates, all of the things that we send to the clients before, as well as advice on how to set up a welcome site for your clients so that they're fully prepared. Because if they are thinking that you're going to do a bunch of poses, that's not going to be good. You have to set yourself and your clients up for success. If they don't know that you're going to be doing a walkthrough of their home, they might be shocked, right? So you want to really educate your clients. So the next question that people ask me is, how do I convince my clients that this is something for them? If you have a bunch of people on the calendar that are for traditional pose newborn and you're thinking about transitioning to this, you have to honor the traditional pose newborn for the ones who have already booked you for that. But going forward, you don't have to convince someone that this is the style for them. In fact, you actually can't. If someone really wants pose newborn photography, they're going to go find someone who can do it. But if you start showing this type of photography to people, to your client base, to your audience, whatever, there will be people who find you online and say, yes, this is what I want. And those are the people that you want to photograph. So you have to have really clear brand communication, meaning that if you want to be a lifestyle photographer, you can only show lifestyle work. You have to educate your clients big time on what the session is going to be like. And importantly, again, anything that you're showing online, your portfolio, it must be in line with lifestyle. All brand touch points need to be consistent. So this is getting into the business side. I know we're not supposed to talk that much about business today, but I just want you to know that this is really important. You can't show a bunch of posed newborn photos and then expect people to be cool with lifestyle. You have to be totally in line with what it is that you do. This is a screenshot of my online portfolio. And this is a screenshot of my Instagram account. So as you can see, I show lifestyle newborn photography. Okay, so what is a newborn session workflow? You have to, and I teach this for family photography as well. When you are photographing real people, like we are, us family and newborn photographers, we're not photographing trained models. They're awkward in front of the camera. They're nervous, they're stressed, they're worried about how everyone's going to behave, right? If you're showing up and winging it without a plan, it's going to feel overwhelming for you, and it could feel overwhelming for the client. And if it feels overwhelming for the client, they're not likely to come back, even if the photos come out okay. So I always have a workflow, meaning I go A, B, C, D every single time. Obviously, things change, babies cry, whatever. You have to be flexible, but I have a workflow. Why? This ensures that the session runs smoothly, and it ensures that I get a well-rounded gallery. So it ensures that I know, even if things feel a little chaotic, that I'm going to be able to deliver a gallery that's professional and well-rounded, and it allows me to stay in control of the session. A workflow keeps things organized, and it's really essential when there's siblings, okay? Again, I'm bringing in my personal experience. When you bring a baby home and you have toddlers or even older kids, it's very disruptive. Even if they're excited about it, it's disruptive. So you want to have a session workflow so that those siblings are not stressed. If mom remembers that you made the siblings feel cool and calm and collected, you're their photographer for life. A workflow for me also allows that every single member gets airtime. So I want to remember, okay, I'm going to do, this. I'm going to make sure that siblings go now. I'm going to make sure that mom goes. I'm going to make sure that dad goes. Because the one thing that happens with siblings is that they think you're like a teacher at first when they first come in, and they'll let you take photos of them. But when they're over you, game over. They're over you, right? So my workflow ensures that every family gets airtime. My workflow allows me to keep the session calm. I want the families to feel at ease, and I want them to remember, to be able to really enjoy this family photo shoot. I want them to enjoy this special time with their family. And I want them to feel like their photo shoot was time well spent with their baby, because if they feel like it was time well spent with their baby, they are going to be satisfied with the photographs. I'm telling you, they already know if they like the photos before they've seen them based on how they feel. I've been doing this 15 years, hundreds of shoots a year. I can tell you that with a guarantee. You can't just learn how to pose the baby alone. That's important, but you need to learn how to pose babies with siblings. That's one of the photos that parents want the most. You have to learn how to pose babies with families of all sizes. By the way, they've had a 5th baby, and it was finally a girl. I've been photographing them for years. You need to learn mom and baby poses. You need to learn dad and baby poses. Very important. And you want to learn poses with baby and parents, obviously. My sessions are family focused. Actually, babies rarely leave their parents' arms. So you want to learn how to pose baby in parents' arms so that you're able to capture details. Like this one, for example, mom's breastfeeding the baby. So I safely turned baby's little bottom out so I could get his feet in this photograph. So when I pose the baby by themselves, I call it, like I said, baby-led posing. Truthfully, babies are in parents' arms for 90% of the shoot, and I'll usually take them out of the arms if they're comfortable with it for about 10 minutes max, which is very different from pose newborn photographers. Pose newborn photographers spend sometimes like 4 hours on their newborn photo shoots. I'm never at the home for longer than 2 hours, usually more like 90 minutes. So when I pose a newborn, here is my strategy. I place the baby in the pose that I'm going for, that's safe and natural, and I then observe and make sure that the baby is comfortable. At this point, I will adjust the baby so that they look, so that the baby is in a pleasing position, so that there's nothing covering their face, all of those things. And then once I get them in the pose, I maximize that pose. So I take pictures from every angle and of every detail so that I can minimally pose them. So if in one pose I'm able to get 20 photos that are amazing, I don't need to do a bunch of poses. If I see an interaction happening, like that photo I showed you earlier where mom was touching baby's feathery hair, I will say, continue to do that. That's what I mean by strengthening interactions. I'll say, continue to touch her hair so that I can photograph it. So here's my newborn posing workflow that I normally only share in the full workshop, but I'll share it with you here. And then I'm going to give you a free posing guide at the end where I break down poses step by step. You could literally open up the guide at your shoot and try some photos, or try some poses. And then of course we have a special for you at the end for my full workshop. Okay. So my newborn posing workflow. I start with the baby swaddled. Now, as a NICU nurse, I will tell you, even if someone says, my baby doesn't like to be swaddled. No, that's actually called a reflex. It's called a Moro reflex, where the baby's trying to get out of their swaddle. All babies like to be swaddled. 100% of babies like to be swaddled. It's actually, they feel safer and that reflex is under control. So I swaddle babies and I take a headshot of them, awake or asleep. I get a photo of their sweet face while they're swaddled, and this allows them to feel calm out of mom's arms. I will then roll the baby over on their tummy and unwrap them like a little gift and take a photo of them on their tummy. I leave the diaper on a lot of the time. Sometimes I take it off. It really just depends on how I'm feeling or how mom and dad are feeling about baby peeing on their bed. I like to show this pose with baby awake because everyone believes that the only way you can pose a baby at all is with them asleep. Not true. Myth, myth, myth. Okay. This baby was awake for her whole photo shoot and I loved it. At that point, I will roll the baby over on their back. If they stay asleep, you can get a more relaxed pose like this. If they don't, it will go really quickly before they're uncomfortable. But I do like to get a photo of them on their back naked. I will also try to get them on their side at that point as well. So it's swaddle, tummy, back, side. And then at this point, they're usually awake. And so what I want to photograph is natural, normal movements. If they start really exercising that Moro reflex and they start crying, back to mom. Okay, I'm not going to leave them there screaming. But if they are comfortable and chill, I'll get these photos. A lot of newborn education advises something that I think is terrible, and I do not think it's safe. They'll say, have mom and dad be in another room because the baby can smell mom and that'll make the baby fussy. That's really bad and unsafe advice. Babies should not be trying to bond with their photographer. Babies should be bonding with their parents. You should never ask a parent to leave the room. So I actually use the parents to assist. So this was me getting this baby, from its back or from its belly onto its side like this, a different baby. And so I had the parents help me soothe the baby or just keep the baby nice and warm with their hands. And it allowed me to take photos and then get the photo that I was aiming for. Parents can be there and be helpful. You want to capture every single detail. Keep your eyes open. So when mom and dad are holding the baby, and this is dad's arms and mom's arms in here, I've got everyone, it's like, oh, there's so much connection in this little foot shot. So capture every single detail, okay? Keep your eyes open. Art that makes you feel. That's what we're going for today, okay? Art that makes you feel. So if you want a free newborn posing guide, she's going to send it to you as well. You can grab it here. There's 5 of my favorite newborn poses broken down step by step. Grab that, take a picture of this. But I also have a full newborn photography workshop that is it's one of my most popular workshops. Everybody loves it. And you can get it for $100 off if you join by Monday. That's a special that I'm going to be giving to this community. You can join it for $100 off using the code NPME100, but not to worry, she's going to email that to you, okay? So I'm going to come back over here and see what questions we have. I snuck in right under an hour. I realized I was like, oh no, I'm going to go over an hour. I'm talking too much. But I would love to see a lot of you in that class because it is, I will break down everything that you need, how to prepare the families. There's also a Fresh 48 bonus where I teach you how to do Fresh 48 photography. And there is a maternity bonus as well. And I teach you how to upsell to maternity photo shoots as well. That's like a $700 value just right there. And the whole workshop is under $200 right now because of the discount. So you should definitely take advantage. Okay, thank you. Here's the link to the posing guide. All right, I'm going to come over to the questions and answer some questions, okay? How many photos do you supply? Do you charge a one-off fee? Do you limit photos included in package and upsell? Okay, so I am an all-inclusive photographer. I make $180,000 a year with my photography business, so it works. You can be all-inclusive. I don't like words like shoot and burn. That's all in the past, okay? So yes, I'm all-inclusive. One price, they get the digital files and we create an album for them that is complimentary. And we say that there is a minimum of 75 photos in each gallery, but I usually give more like 150 to 200. I give pretty big galleries and I include them in color and black and white. And I do not upsell. If they want, they can purchase prints from the Shoot Proof gallery. It makes it super easy. And about 40% of our clients do. So that's icing on the cake. Where I upsell is every single inquiry for my newborn photo shoots gets offered to add on a petite maternity bonus, and that our maternity package, and that makes a $1,400 sale go up to $2,100, and 99% of my newborn photo inquiries also book that. So that's how we upsell. What's my go-to aperture for my 35mm lens? So for the most part, I want you all to know that camera settings are very personal, but I shoot pretty wide open. So I never close down more than like 2.5 max, even with groups, but I will shoot from 1.4 to 2.5. I love the softness of it. Do you follow up with lifestyle family photography as baby grows, or do you offer studio as well? I do not have a studio. I'll never have a studio. I don't like studio work. I'm all on location. And I am a family photographer as well. So I do about 100 photo shoots a year, and that's a combination of newborn, maternity, and family photo shoots. And that's the thing, when you create this connection with your lifestyle newborn photos, they want to see you every year for life. And so they become clients that I see every year for family photos as well. So yes. It's a very symbiotic business model. I do not like the word shoot and burn. Shoot and burn is very derogatory, Jennifer. So I would advise you to stop using that term. I am an all-inclusive photographer. I know you didn't mean it that way, but I want you to know that, that it's an old way of thinking, very antiquated. It is very high value. Even photographers who sell products want people, they also sell the digitals at a premium. So yes, I do give the digitals for my all-inclusive price, which is $1,400 for the session. And I do not do in-person sales. I don't want to. I would prefer for them to just buy from their Shoot Proof gallery. I don't want to be salesy. That's not my business model. What are some of your go-to poses, maybe prompts? You've been watching this, so hopefully you already got that, and you can take the full class if you want all of them, or you can download the freebie. Guidance on pricing. I will teach you pricing in the full workshop. I also have a pricing guide that you could download that's free. If you go to ElenaSBlair.com, or go to my Instagram account, actually, here, I'm going to put it on here. Because if you go to my Instagram account, you'll see that there is a few posts where you can get my pricing guide, and I would recommend downloading that. It's like an interactive pricing guide that will tell you what you need to price to be profitable. Do you have them send your photos of inside of your house first? No, I do not actually. I don't feel the need to do that. I feel pretty confident in my ability to find a perfect spot. I feel like if I ask them to do that, they may feel like I was judging them, and they may not book the session. Actually, they may be like, oh God, maybe I don't want to do it in my home. So I want them to feel really confident. Do you have a list of prompts to use as a toolbox if flow is not going right, like a handout we can have? You can get that in the full workshop, Allison. I don't have that for here, but I do have the 5, what you can have for free is the 5 poses step by step broken down, and that will give you exactly what I do for the baby in order to make that happen. Okay. I know settings change, but what are some of the base settings you use? So again, settings are something that I think is really very personal. So me and you, Allison, could be at the same photo shoot and have the same settings, and our photo will look different. So that being said, I usually start indoors at ISO of 1,000 and then adjust accordingly. And then I want my shutter speed to stay fast and my ISO and my f-stop to be low, because I want that softness. So I will bump the ISO up as much as I need to keep my shutter speed fast. If you're having focus issues, it's often a shutter speed issue. And so I want to make sure that my shutter speed stays up really fast. Do you bring OCF? Nope, I don't even own an F camera flash, so don't. I guess I own strobes, but we use those for schools only occasionally. Often in lifestyle sessions at clients' homes, they want me to edit out the house clutter. Do you how do you help families provide you an uncluttered space? Such a good, so Jennifer, in the workshop, I'll talk to you how I prepare families. So I tell them I don't need them to clean anything up, but that I'm going to maybe move things around when I get there. So when I decide where I'm going to do a photo shoot, I clean the whole area up right in real time. I will move clutter, etc. I do not do any edits. My contract says that I will not do any additional edits after the gallery is delivered, and but nobody ever asks me to either. So I do make sure that the area is clean. So you do that. I would rather do it in camera, and that's how I do it. And I'm really mindful of what I'm including in the frame as well. I do Fresh 48 in hospital newborn sessions. Yes, I do. And in the workshop, we have a bonus that teaches you how to do that. Do you usually wear a mask for sessions? No, I do not wear a mask for sessions. I haven't worn a mask for sessions since COVID ended. Do they do the photo shoot in the client's house? Yep, I do the photo shoots entirely in the client's home. I do not have a studio, which should be really freeing for a lot of you. Like, you don't need a studio. How do you prep your client to have the rooms ready with the best light? I don't, Alyssa. So I go into the home and I make that call when I get there. And but I do tell them that I'm going to do that. I prep them by telling them that that's going to happen day of, and I tell them, you know, they know what I'm looking for. Somebody has seen my online portfolio. They know that I like clean, minimal. So they usually, actually, they usually already have that style. That's the thing about branding. You really attract what you put out there. So I even attract people with that style, which is kind of cool. Okay, I'm coming up here to see if I missed any. How much do you edit skin imperfections and such? I edit 0 skin in. I don't edit any at all. Yeah, like a dad with a scratch on his arm. Yeah, he's got a scratch. He's a human. He gets scratches. I would not ever edit that out. Babies have skin. They have skin. One thing that I will say is if mom emailed me and said, my baby has a horrid newborn rash, I would just reschedule for a couple weeks later. As a lifestyle photographer, baby doesn't need to be 2 weeks old. Baby can be 4, 6 weeks old even for their newborn photo shoot. So I do not edit skin that way. I don't think babies should look like dolls. I think they should look like babies, but that's a big part of my style. And so that's up to you what you want to do. I should probably stop sharing the screen, huh? So you're not seeing that. Hold on. Okay. With clients coming back after a year, are you giving them a discount? I feel like I fall into this trap and my prices are already low. If your prices are low, Tony, as a business owner, you can't afford to give a discount. So don't. My prices are not low. We do give an early, not for newborns, but for family photography, my calendar books out an entire year in advance. So we open up my calendar for the next year in November. And I teach all of this in my mastermind, by the way, I teach all of the business practices. We open it up for the next year and I give a small discount if they book by December 31st. They get a little bit of an incentive. Would you suggest a full frame or would Canon R7 be fine with a fast lens? So what I always say about gear, Rob, is that you should use the gear that you have to its max until you feel like it's actually hindering you. I grew my whole business with a 50D and a cheap 50 millimeter lens. So it's not really about the gear, but if you get to the point where you're like, okay, this lens is not letting in enough light, or this crop sensor is not allowing for, because with a crop sensor, a 35 millimeter is going to be like a 50 millimeter. So if you feel like that's restricting you, then that would be the time to upgrade. But there's no right or wrong answer there. It's just, it's a personal preference. Do I edit acne off of teenagers? So I have a lot of teenagers now because my clients are all growing up, and I would only do that if they asked me to, and it's rare that they do. And it's rare, you know, I feel like nowadays teenagers are getting their acne taken care of with proper medication, but it's not something that I deal with a ton. But the other thing that I will say is that if you are using really good light and you shoot wide open like I do, skin tones are already really creamy. So that's the truth of the matter, that editing is pretty minimal in my work because it comes out of camera really pretty great. And that's because I'm obsessed with light. I am a light obsessor. And yes, I can be obsessed with light and it be natural. So I would only do that if somebody asked. And even my contract says that I won't do any extra editing. And it's rare that anyone ever asks me. I would just take that on a case-by-case basis. Good question, though. Okay, these are all amazing questions. I was trying to talk really fast so that I could get them all in. So I'm sorry if I talked too fast for you. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. And actually, what I say, sorry, Karen, I'm going to share my screen again. If you're here right now, take a photo of this presentation cover and share it on Instagram and tag me, and I will reshare. I want to just bring the Shoot Proof webinar to the world. So take a photo of this. Let's be friends on Instagram. So I'm Elena S. Blair _photography. If more questions pop up, feel free to go over there and ask, and make sure to take advantage of the discounts and things that we're giving you. Are there any other lenses you would suggest? So lenses are a total personal preference. I'm a prime lens user only. And I really only use 3 lenses primarily right now. And that outdoor, I use 85 and 50 and 35. And then indoor, I use only 35. So outdoor, I'll use the three all together. If I had to choose one lens, if you asked me what's one lens you would use, I would choose the 50 millimeter and throw everything else out. Like that's really all I need. But I do like the 85 and 35 for versatility. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
That was great. Okay, so I want to tell you my favorite part of that was I don't want them to see something. I want them to feel something when they look at those photos. I need to put that on a Post-it because now I want to go back to doing photography again.
You make your clients, well, actually, it's not even just your clients. When people feel something, when you are creating a photograph, you have an ability to do 2 things, attract and repel. And this is good. This is a good thing. When somebody looks at my portfolio and they see a mom who's a little bit naked, breastfeeding, if that repels them, that's good. They should go see a really talented traditional pose newborn photographer that's going to have them get their hair done and get in a white gown. There's a photographer for them. But if they see that and they feel something and they're like, oh, I want that. That's what you want. You want to create that kind of response with your work. That is like one of the most important things in business is to create that response in your work. And then what that does is it creates brand evangelists and clients who come back year after year after year. And that's a beautiful business model. Client retention is something that we don't talk about enough. And it's so important.
And on the flip side, which I had never thought about before, is it also being you having that same feeling as the person who created that image makes you fulfilled in your job, which, you know, sometimes we can get kind of a little bit too, you know, either burned out or, you know, we're just so in the workflow of, you know, delivering images and we should stop and think about like, what is the fulfilling part? Like, why are we doing this?
If you, I would say 100% of us have, when we first start our business, we became a photographer because of something that was passion driven, almost, I would say everybody. And then you get into business and you're like, okay, but now I'm in business, so I've got to do it like this in order to make money. And that's case in point, me posing newborns. That was all I saw. And so I'm like, well, I must have to do it this way. And I was about to like just leave the newborn work aside and only do family because I was feeling really burnt out and stressed about it. I didn't like it. If you do it in a way that is aligned with who you are as a person and an artist, you're satisfied. You won't burn out. Even when you're overwhelmed or even when things are hard, you show up with your full self because you love it so much. And so if you're feeling burnt out or you're feeling like, I don't know, this isn't for me, it might be that you're just not doing it in a way that's aligned with who you are, which is pretty easy to fall into that trap. So it's a really important piece.
That also supports I know you're big on community over competition. And I think, you know, being fulfilled in your work because everyone gets fulfilled in a different way. So that creates space for more people to be in the community together. So it all ties together.
100%. Yeah. I have a group coaching program, everybody. I didn't talk about it very much, but where we go into all the business things, all the mindset things so that you build that long-term business that you can rely on, but that means something to you. Like I've been doing this 15 years and I'm still just as excited for every photo shoot as I was 15 years ago. And I get so sad when I see really talented photographers burn out for all the wrong reasons. Like they didn't learn systems, they didn't learn pricing, they didn't stay aligned with what they wanted because it can be such a meaningful career. So I feel very passionate about that.
And is that part of your mastermind? I mean, I know this is going into another thing. We're wrapping up, but you know, it's just, it all ties together. So I want to,
the mastermind is all about creating a reliable, sustainable, profitable business. Those things are important. I'm a businesswoman above all, actually, but that means something to you. That's meaningful to you because when you do it, like when you approach it that way, you're more satisfied, but you also attract clients who are more satisfied. And you're able to create this like really beautiful experience for your clients and yourself. And so it's amazing. And then you have clients that come back every year and there's so many things. But yes, that's the mastermind is everything that you need to know to run a profitable, reliable, sustainable photography business. And now that I've been doing it 5 years, I'm very confident in my ability to help people do just that.
And that's, if folks are interested, they can find that on your website, right?
Yes. Actually, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, am I?
No.
Okay, I'll link it here for you guys, just if you're curious about it. Yeah, and we're actually, the next cohort starts in July, so coming up, we're taking applications right now for it. So that's something, if you want to just check it out. If you apply, you will get invited to book a discovery call, no pressure, where we can meet and you will talk one-on-one and you can ask me your questions about it. It's pretty cool. It's been very transformative. I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of it. Oh, I think I put it in the Q&A.
It's okay. I copied it over into the chat.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I got you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I know we kept you longer, so thanks for being generous with your time and your knowledge. And I can't imagine how much more is in your full course. So
yeah, it's fun. It's a good one. It's definitely a very like practical workshop where you take it and you could go into a newborn photo shoot and really feel like you can just nail it, you know. Awesome. But if you're not ready to make it's like, I think it's, forget how cheap it gets when it might be 97. I think it might be $97 with the discount. Or maybe it's $197. I don't remember. But if you're not ready to make that investment, the free posing guide is a good place to start too. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing
You're
that.
welcome. It's so fun.
And we'll see you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Yep. Of course. I always love doing it.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
See you on Instagram.